to talk to you. Let me say this before. We've had various presentations, and if you noticed, all of them were presented as different types of knowledge. We got knowledge from various fields, knowledge from our background. Everything is knowledge, 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 knowledge. But why? Why? I think I just want to bring us to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is that you've heard our president speaking about South Africans must be innovative to be able to get us out of this hole that we are in. We must innovate so that we can grow our economy. That he speaks about innovation all the time he speaks about innovation. And what is innovation? Innovation is our ability to use our knowledge to create new products that we can sell. And as we sell, our economy grows. We employ people. So that is why knowledge is important. We encourage our children to stay as long as possible in schools, in universities, so that they can get as much knowledge as they can, which they're going to use to develop these new products and services, to be innovative. In Africa, we expect that, at least even at the AU, they say that we would like to have African solutions for African problems. We expect that our students are going to be innovative and come up with new ideas, new goods and services that are going to make our economies grow. And we expect that our students, because they are African students in Africa, they have lived here, we expect that they are going to have a competitive advantage over other students that are not from Africa, because they understand the African context better, because they grew up there. Is that a good assumption to say that? Yes. Is it correct to say because you lived in a place, therefore you understand it better? I say no. It's not automatic that just because you've been sitting in that chair, therefore you understand that chair. You have been in Africa, but you have never learned about African knowledge. You don't have African knowledge. You were just in Africa. We don't study African knowledge, African values. We don't know what Ausmeki was talking about. We don't know. But we assume we know, but we don't. And we will only have knowledge if somebody took time to explain to us, like Ausmeki was doing, this works like this works like that, this works like that. And when you go to school, have any of you studied at least some aspect of African knowledge? As we are sitting here as students, very few have studied any aspect of African knowledge. We study everything else. You can tell me about coding, about everything else, but the knowledge that you grew up in, you don't have. There must be something wrong in that type of thing. And I believe that is the problem of African education. From day one, it sidelines African knowledge. It renders it irrelevant, and you just get to learn everything else that other people have. You learn then what they say. And to be honest, people say, do they really know anything that is worth knowing? They ask that question. Some people are really doubtful that if people like us would say, understand, get to know what it is. And I'm not talking because I know. I'm talking because I believe they do have knowledge. And I'll tell you why I believe that. I believe what Africans have, and I put it at your door, we have unarticulated knowledge. I can't know what you know, because it's not been written down. Other people who are doubting have never seen it. It's just like a folk tale. Where is the information? How do I get to know it? But I also believe that they must have knowledge. No people can resist and survive the various onslaughts, colonial onslaughts, and they have no knowledge. There is knowledge there that makes them survivors. What is it? The health. Africans are still alive, in spite of the fact that they do not use, the majority in many places don't use Western medicine. What is it that they know? That is a question that really needs urgent answers. So, my topic, having said all that, is I want to talk about knowledge and power. I want us to think about knowledge and power. I want to also say that, as you can see, he or she who has knowledge has power. So that's why, students, please, I'm the old-fashioned teacher. If you go and riot because you want a pub, you worry me. So, if you want power, have knowledge. And if I exclude your knowledge from your education, am I empowering you? Somebody whose knowledge is used in school is empowered because he can say, yes, I can hear that. I remember my uncle saying that one day. I can see how it links up with this new knowledge that I'm getting. You go into the classroom, you don't know, what you brought into the classroom, and nobody's interested in what you have brought to the classroom, and therefore, you are already working at a disadvantage. Now, you go to the workplace. If you are in the workplace, again, the assumption is Africans don't bring anything of value here. The knowledge that they use at home, in their homes, is not useful here. The values they have is not useful to them. Learn the principles of management and everything else. Not that you shouldn't learn them, but I'm saying that. Compare that with what the Japanese do. The Japanese are so proud of their culture, and they use it as a springboard to doing anything else. There is the concept, for example, of Kaizen, Kaizen, K-E-I-Z-E-N, which is a Japanese concept of continuous improvement. They use it in their culture for doing continuous improvement. And then they take the same principle and take it to the business place. And in the business place, continuous improvement leads to total quality management. So, you are unable to enrich your workspace through the knowledge that you bring to work. Imagine if things were different. Imagine how ambitious and self-starting the South African workers would be if they lived by the maxim such as they should bring in what made them strong from their backgrounds. And believing that More mogolo go betla wa taola, wa motho wa ipetla. Wouldn't you want a worker like that? A worker who knows that I am responsible for my destiny. He didn't learn it from the textbook. He learned it at home. But we don't use, the workplace doesn't recognize that. And another thing about this knowledge that we keep in compartments is that sometimes it causes problem. Some of our values, like the value that the Chief Justice talked about, caring for other people. And we have values that specifically instruct you to take care of your kin. Bakaeno. Ya kariri. Metla khola ya borwa. We betla libile wabo. That is how we are supposed to do. That means whatever good you do, make sure that your people, relatives, clan, and community benefit. But in the present day and age, such a value can be interpreted as creating a slippery slope to nepotism and corruption, because it is going to be used wrongly. Now, it is true that a lot of people high flyers have lost jobs because they were pressured by their relatives to make them benefit from their success, and you had problems in the workplace. So maybe the employers are saying keeping that knowledge out is better. But the fact is, if these people believe that, it's going to be a problem one day in the workplace. We need to mediate between different value systems, and so that we also can be creative about these new value systems. Imagine if we actually took that caring value and ensure that in the workplace, if somebody is struggling with his work, I step in to help so that the work can continue. If my fellow employee, if my colleague becomes my kin, and I empower them as I am empowered, wouldn't that be a good thing for us? I believe, I said he who has knowledge has power. The gentleman from HSRC was describing how turbulent our society has become, how dissatisfied our people have become, how, I want to say, helpless they have become. And why are they helpless like that? Of course they have been disappointed, of course they have been everything. But I want to make a proposition here that our people are in the state they are in because they have forgotten their power. They feel powerless. They feel helpless. They've become dependent. If we can just step back and remember how Black South Africans of all kinds, or let me say just South Africans of all kinds, paid the price for this freedom. Some were actively involved, while others simply endured and worked and saved to educate their children. How many of you were educated by, maybe not you, your parents are middle class, but our generation were educated by parents who were just ordinary laborers. But they save up. We don't know how they made it to be able to take us to school. And they never complained. Well, they could have complained, there was no space. The point of the matter is they exercise some power to determine their destiny. In 1994, South Africans, all of us, regardless of color, we stood tall, confident in our strength, especially those who struggle, confident in our strength that delivered the new dispensation. They could list their strengths. They knew what they were strong, their strengths, where their power lies. They were resilient. They felt resilient. They felt they were persistent. They were courageous, and most of all, they were patient. It took a hell of a long time, but they ultimately reached a place. Where is that strength now? Just step outside, out of the hall here, this is poetic there, and watch people in random destructive mode. Random destructive. Smoke billowing out of schools, clinics, libraries, amenities that were meant to help us. Listen to the noise. He who shouts the loudest is the leader. This is the new maxim. The loudest shouter is our leader. I mean, I'm not talking about anything, but that's the belief system now. Young people hurling insults at their leaders. I used to see how they insulted Mr. Zuma, regardless of what he had done. I didn't feel that he deserved to be insulted by kids like that. And as he was being insulted like that, I saw the African value of respect going out of the window. Surely when we do that, let me say, ladies and gentlemen, we are not operating out of strength. We are not operating out as people of power. We are doing those things because we are helpless. We are almost childlike in the face of the problems that face us and the new demands of the time. We feel we can't solve the problem. That is why we just want to, let it go away. I think we must change, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make some suggestions. It is all about exercising your power. And that power that I have, the powers that something that you feel, that makes you feel strong, it is all about that. I want to say to our government that they should remind people of their power. We must be reminded of our power, the things that we have been able to achieve that brought us to this day. Remind people of their power, especially when they are angry and frustrated. Don't appease them. Appease, yeah? Temporary solution, stock sweets. Don't appease them. Talk to them and bring out their strong points. Replace, I believe this word called empowerment must be replaced, because it has developed a culture of dependence on the government intervention for any problem. When we have a problem, we no longer say, "Mahomkete, what can we do?" We said, "What does the government say? What does the government say?" Okay, are you chasing me away? Okay. So instead of empowerment, I'd like us to put personal development. And personal development means putting back the challenge for self-improvement on the people. Introduce programs that improve awareness, identity, develop talents, potential, and personal dreams and aspirations. I want to say, just 3 seconds. I want to say respect African knowledge, because that is the starting point. Fund studies and research on African knowledge. And researchers respect knowledgeable people in the communities. They may not know how you're going to do it, but just say to them, we want to discuss the problems you want to solve. We want to do this. What do you think? Do you have knowledge that we can adapt and utilize? And, sorry. Okay, get some more. And government use people's knowledge. These people build South Africa. They have knowledge and skills. Improve their skills. And when you plan development, plan with the people. Ask them, what would you like? What kind of solutions? Bring back the Imbizos premier. And the Imbizos should not just be talk show. Ask the people seriously. Lebona gore tsela e ka ya yana khotsa jane ba re a iska ya go yana because kwa ke masimo a go a bo ramokete, let's take it this way. And okay, and all of us must invest in programs that promote positive change. Films, government, please fund writers, filmmakers, everybody who promotes a good self-image.